Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you are all having a great day. Some very interesting news today, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. The Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis has released an article about Bitcoin. Interesting. In it, the bank notes that the price of Bitcoin has three potential futures. It is indefinite, an infinite appreciation, or zero, or somewhere in between. They believe it will actually be somewhere in between. The authors of this article, known as David Andolfato and Andrew Spiewak, conclude that one of the factors dragging down the price of Bitcoin is an ever-expanding supply of alternatives. Bitcoin is an inherently speculative and volatile asset. A fixed supply doesn't mean an ever-increasing value. Demand determines the value. After all, other tokens are frequently launched with other properties attractive to the portion of the market. If Bitcoin was still the only cryptocurrency, something which was the case for a very brief time that was, the money would probably go into Bitcoin logically. However, the Bitcoin maximalist argument that Bitcoin will simply usurp any improvements by other tokens has never come to fruition. There are even fewer dApps and users of dApps via Bitcoin's blockchain than much later entrants such as Tron. The Federal Reserve economist writes, and I do quote, "Consider the following experiment. A restaurant selling meals for $10 will happily accept payment in the form of one $10 bill or two $5 bills. That is, the nominal exchange rate between Hamilton and Lincoln bills is a 2-to-1. Now suppose that the supply of Lincoln bills, the 5, is increased by the supply of Hamilton bills but remains the same. The exchange rate remains unaffected. That is, the increase in the supply of the Lincoln bills has led to the decline in the purchasing power of both Lincoln bills and Hamilton bills, even though the supply of Hamilton bills was remained fixed. Might an expansion in the supply of altcoins have a similar decreasing effect on the price of Bitcoin? There are other complicating factors to the price of Bitcoin. On one hand, it is a cryptocurrency with superior liquidity. This makes it the on-ramp and off-ramp for many other cryptocurrencies. Does anyone remember when ICOs were primarily conducted with Bitcoin? Nowadays, Ethereum has that function. Importantly, ICOs fuel demand for Ethereum. They happened in 2017 and 18. Ethereum has a large supply and may never stop producing new units. Therefore, its lower value makes sense. The more something is available, the less value that it has. Without reading any further, because it does continue to go on, I think it's interesting that we've entered a time period in life, in history, where we have Federal Reserve banks writing articles and pieces about Bitcoin and how they think the price of Bitcoin is actually affected. I've said this before. If you think that governments aren't paying attention, or that governments aren't already in this, or that the Federal Reserve is not paying attention to the actual price development of Bitcoin, you are fairly mistaken. A lot of people, for some reason, think that because Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are decentralized, that governments simply want nothing to do with them, and they've taken a step back and they've said, we're not going to even touch this or look at this. At this point in time, for those who have not realized it, even if we just focus, as the article is about Bitcoin, even if we just focus on Bitcoin, it is a threat, and the idea that there could be a cataclysmic, I don't think that's the word I'm looking for, a major price increase over either this year or next year or the year after that, or even the year after that, or even the year after that, that could potentially push the US dollar out of the way, is a very big concern right now. There are, without getting too deep into it, the US is kind of going through a lot, whether it be based on debt, whether it be based on other things that are happening with economic policies and other sanctions and stuff like that. There was a news article yesterday that I laughed at, simply because the U.S. has a U.S. ambassador has slightly threatened Germany with sanctions as well. And you got to get to the point in your mind when you think, if you're sanctioning allies or threatening to sanction allies, what kind of road are you kind of walking down? It logically does make sense. And we are, so it said it's somewhere around, yeah, there we go, right here. It says that the argument that Bitcoin will simply one day overtake all the other tokens has never come to fruition. I'm not sure if we're quite there in Bitcoin's history yet. I think it's kind of difficult to make a statement like this, especially as the entire market has been moving down. I think if we had seen an increase in prices from the end of 2017 up until now, and Bitcoin's dominance was around 18%, I will go, okay, that makes, I guess Bitcoin's dominance won't ever really return. The idea is, and I mean, this is, I once again, I try to look at everything from a fair perspective. And the argument that many Bitcoin maximalists or Bitcoin extremists, as Charlie Lee calls them, pretty much comes down to the fact that we are going to, from them, they say this, that we are going to experience this during the next bull run up. That as we get closer, as we pass by a $40,000, $50,000 Bitcoin, and it becomes clear that Bitcoin isn't going anywhere, this is when we will see a major decoupling. And we all had the idea for quite a long amount of time that it'll be the altcoins who decouple from Bitcoin. But according to Bitcoin maximalists, is that Bitcoin is going to decouple from every other coin because its true value will then be seen. It'll be seen as this major thing that can compete with the other coins. We also spoke about that before in the last video, or the one before that, one from yesterday, where we were talking about the improvements on the Bitcoin blockchain and how we're going to have multiple other layered solutions. And I don't know if people don't think I can't see their comments or that their comments are invisible. I can see all of your comments. It's my channel. People were talking about that I was wrong about being able to build things through Bitcoin and Lightning Network to be able to have a faster to be able to build games and smart contracts and stuff. On top of that, people told me that this wasn't possible. They told me I was an idiot. They called me a jerk and all this other stuff. I live and breathe cryptocurrencies. It's all I do. I don't say things on this channel because I like the sound of my voice, or I like to say things that'll, pump up the market. I've done research into these things. I listen to other developers, and when they talk, regardless of what the case might be, we're at the position right now in Bitcoin's history that apparently none of this will end up happening simply because the price is too low. But the idea is that once Bitcoin hits past a certain price, that we will see Bitcoin's dominance completely overtake the rest of the coins. If this is actually going to happen, I obviously cannot tell you. If it was going to happen and I knew for a fact, I would definitely tell everyone else out there who's listening right now to plan accordingly. But as time continues to go on and we do see more altcoins in the market, this is also another reason why I specifically think we've seen major attacks on other cryptocurrencies, such as 51% attacks, or even just attacks from people online or talking about so and so and how your coin is this and your coin is that. I think a lot of people are realizing that we're getting to the point in the market where we are close to having a bottom in price, which I'll also get to in a couple of minutes, and that when the market does start to go back up, you need to secure your place in the top 10. And I told you guys that before as well. When you listen to hedge fund managers and when people talk about cryptocurrencies on the news and stuff like that, they specifically talk about the funds that they're starting and the other fund managers, the banks, all these other things are looking forward to putting into their fund, and it kind of comes down to the top 10 coins. Anyway, still yet to be seen. We know that Bitcoin is slow. We know that Bitcoin is lagging, if you will, and that other coins are a lot quicker than it. But we will get to a point at some point in history where Bitcoin is actually able to do the same exact thing as all the other coins. It's not, Lightning will not be the only solution on top of Bitcoin. We have many of them planned. Anyway, I just thought it was kind of interesting that the Federal Reserve decided to actually talk about why Bitcoin's price was going down. It also then leads to speculation as to if they own any. That's also something for the crypto forums. A lot of people do believe that a lot of these institutions have been buying up Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in expectation of a new monetary world that we're going to live in, where crypto kind of takes over. But that's also another conversation when I have my tinfoil hat on. Yeah, let's continue on. Next up, Bakkt is in the news, and it's actually 2 points to this, and this article doesn't have it, but I'll go into it in a little bit. It says Bakkt may not be able to launch its planned Bitcoin futures exchange this month as planned, but that isn't stopping the company from developing its projects. CEO known as Kelly Loeffler announced on Monday that the New York Stock Exchange Bakkt startup was acquiring certain assets belonging to Rosenthal Collins Group, or the RCG, an independent futures commission merchant. RCG had previously announced it was selling its customer accounts and brokerage business to British firm Marex Spectron. Bakkt previously raised nearly $183 million in a funding round. We know that already. The acquisition will help Bakkt improve its risk management and treasury operations, Loeffler wrote, adding that the deal will also help improve Bakkt's anti-money laundering / know your customer operations. The transaction is expected to be finalized next month, referencing a regulatory delay in launching the company's anticipated futures exchange. Loeffler said, and I do quote, "This acquisition underlines the fact we're not standing still as we await regulatory approval by the CFTC for the launch of regulated trading in our crypto markets. Our mission requires significant investment in technology to establish an innovative platform, as well as financial market expertise to deliver the most trusted fintech ecosystem for digital assets," end quote. Bakkt previously announced its intention to launch its futures exchange on the 24th of January 2019. That is 9 days away. However, the company is still awaiting approval from the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, or the CFTC, as it intends to custody Bitcoin for clients in its own warehouse. So moving backwards, I told you guys, I think yesterday, we were expecting to, and I told you guys when we got this date to not really hold your breath. I figured this was even before the actual government shutdown that the U.S. is experiencing right now. I told you guys not to even think that this was going to be an option, because apparently the CFTC has a 30-day period where they also are going to take to be able to give a thumbs up to the Bakkt platform. I'm expecting at this point this won't actually end up launching Bakkt until sometime in the middle of February, if not the end of February, if not the very beginning of March. This seems like the appropriate time frame that, in my mind, that this is actually going to have. Like I said, that it didn't have in this article, and I read it somewhere else, but I'm pretty sure it was the exact same company, because it was the other article was talking about the acquisition that Bakkt had made of another company like this, and it comes down to the fact that unless I'm mistaken, unless it's a completely different company, the point is that Bakkt has acquired some other company that'll allow them to streamline payments even further. It's some other company that they purchased to be able to integrate their systems and also other like Bitcoin payment systems, because they want to make sure that there's an enormous amount of people and companies and institutions who are actually able to accept Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as a payment option, as is the 2.0 point of Bakkt. Part one is the daily physical Bitcoin futures, and the other part is as an actual payment platform solution thing for companies and institutions to be able to actually, the whole thing again, once again, Starbucks. But the article that I was reading before, and I can't find it at the moment, it must be somewhere else, they were talking about that the entire point is that they want to make Bitcoin not only a household name, but they're trying to reach further around the world to get in contact with other companies to be able, so that everyone is able to actually accept Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as a payment option. The one thing that you may all be thinking of, or especially if you live in the United States, is that apparently every single time you deal in crypto, or rather you spend crypto on something, this is a taxable event. And I'm not exactly sure how they're officially going to deal with that. Maybe this is why they're trying to acquire something that'll allow them to, the anti-money laundering, know your customer operations. I feel that at some point we're going to get information from the United States, or maybe even the people from Bakkt. I don't know exactly how the chain of command goes as far as like releasing information for these things. If they want Bakkt, the payment option side, to be a success, we're going to have a period where you paying for something in cryptocurrencies has to be untaxable to a certain event, i.e., if you're buying a Maserati, I can see that being, over like the limit for you paying in crypto. But if no one's going to buy a latte from Starbucks if it has to be taxed. No one's going to write that down in their phone or on a piece of paper to remember to pay taxes on that at the end of the year. No one's going to do these things. No one's going to buy it's also rumored that Microsoft is going to be one of the companies who's also going to be accepting cryptocurrencies as a payment method. No one's buying anything worth anything in cryptocurrencies if they're going to have to be taxed on it, if you have to write it. Can you imagine everything? We're the 15th of this month right now. Imagine everything that you've purchased since the beginning of this year. Imagine if you had to write that down, every single thing that you purchased, because in a phantasmagorical world that you paid for it all in Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody's going to do that, to be completely honest. Anyway, it's nice to hear. What I find very interesting is that I feel like the people from Bakkt, or the entire Bakkt company, institution, whatever you kind of want to call it, New York Stock Exchange, I feel like they're very, very serious about this. I feel like we It was speculated in the very beginning that they were delaying Bakkt on purpose, trying to wait for the market. I feel like they want this to launch as soon as possible. I feel like they have a lot of money that's into this. And I like that they keep giving us constant updates because, to be fair, they really don't have to. We've seen at least 10 other initiatives that were talking about launching at the beginning to middle of 2018 that have simply not launched. We no longer hear about them, but from the Bakkt people, we hear about them at least 2 or 3 times a week. They make sure to tell us exactly what's going on because they know what's riding on this. And once again, this is supposed to be, once it may be, hands in the air, I don't know. This is supposed to be the catalyst that brings us into a $1 trillion, if not a multi-trillion-dollar cryptocurrency market. And I think, once again, a large part of that will rely on if people aren't being taxed on their payment things and stuff like that. And I think it'll also maybe spark something to see exactly which companies are siding with Bakkt and the New York Stock Exchange as to, who's going to actually accept cryptocurrency as a payment. I think that's going to be something very interesting. If we have like major names like Amazon and Apple and eBay accepting Bitcoin on their platform, that'll, I think, change the entire scape of the payment use case as far as cryptocurrencies, because they'll be allowed to be purchased with, sold, whatever, by some of the largest names in the entire world. But yeah, let's move on. Next up, thought I'd swing through this one little tiny bit. In a Medium post and on Twitter, Renato Shirakashi and Woobull.com creator Willy Woo offered differing opinions about the short-term, what the short-term had in store for Bitcoin, debating whether Bitcoin's price to the US dollar had set a definitive bottom in this bear market. The pair had reached a $4,250 earlier this month, before a series of drops saw support to around 4,000 evaporate. At press time, Bitcoin is around 35, 36, 37, depending on when exactly you're looking at it. It's kind of fluctuating all over the place right now. Shirakashi presented a bullish case, voiced skepticism over warnings previously issued by traders such as Tokenized. As Bitcoin is reported, Vase, who previously correctly called the Bitcoin price drop to between 3,000 and 5,000, believes Bitcoin could touch 1,300 or perhaps even lower. He said, "I had so much respect for Murad Mahmoudov, David Puel, Willy Woo, Tone Vase, but I have to respectfully disagree with them. I have a really strong case in hands that state the Bitcoin bottom is in. A variety of technical indicators, including those developed by Mahmoudov and Puel, support the view," he said. Anyway, yeah, that was pretty much it. Without reading much further, because you see it kind of continues to go on, there's a lot of discrepancies in the cryptocurrency space right now as to if Bitcoin has officially, and what we're focusing once again on Bitcoin, because we know how the market is, with prices being this low, Bitcoin is moving the market. Where Bitcoin goes, everything else goes, because even though we have Ethereum and many other coins as base pairs right now, Bitcoin is still the number one base pair. So while other coins may have, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 35 exchanges, Bitcoin has all of them. Bitcoin is the go-to guy for the price. According to the analysts and their charts, a lot of them believe that Bitcoin's price has actually bottomed, that we're simply waiting for some type of good news to happen for Bitcoin's price to spike up. But a lot of people are stating that Bitcoin's price is actually going to drop anywhere from, I've seen 1,300 to actually 1,700 as like the new official low. I have my own feelings on this, and once again, this may come from my utopian view on life. I feel like, and this is once again my own views, I'm sure a lot of you are crossing your arms and disagreeing with me already. If this is the technical bottom, and this is as low as we are going to go, it feels like people should just sell off now. And I know whatever, just sell off now, get the price this low so we can kind of get moving forward. A lot of analysts are saying that if nothing significant happens in the way of Bitcoin news, i.e. Bakkt or something like that, taking place, if this does persist, we will have a continual sideways trend in prices, and that we will not be going anywhere for quite a long amount of time until we have, something significant. Just my opinion. I feel like if we're going to get there, why not just get us there now so that we can kind of go up already? because I mean, people are saying that we're going to be swinging between 3,000 and 5,000 for the next 5 to 6 months unless something significant happens. This is why you can't, I guess the phrase is, you can't always get what you want, or like you expect certain things to happen and they just really don't take place, and it's kind of very frustrating. We're all in the exact same boat right now. Don't think that I'm not frustrated in the world of crypto right now, because a lot of things should have taken place. I think the timing of a lot of things is not that it's suspect, but it's kind of like, why not happen a couple months later? Why did the U.S. shutdown happen around the same exact time where we were supposed to have had Bakkt? Why did the CFTC take their time when it came to giving us notice about Bakkt launching at the end of last year? Why is it now that everything is taking so much longer than it should have taken before? Maybe, a lot of analysts say that when prices are down this low, that the longer the prices stay down, it shows a more consolidated, a more matured market. If there's not a huge amount of fluctuations and we have kind of the market has made sure to find a bottom in price, and we end up going back up, like the longer we go down for, the longer our going up will be. This is kind of the sentiment behind it. No one knows if the price has bottomed. I felt like the price has dropped as low as it possibly should have for quite a long amount of time. A drop to $1,300 means that Bitcoin's price shouldn't have moved at all throughout 2017. It means that the entirety of 2017 and 18 was a bubble, and that Bitcoin's price should have only risen between the time of 2017 and right now of around $400, which I do definitely not agree with. I feel like, in my opinion, prices never actually reflect what something is doing. If you believe after all this time that what after Bitcoin has done, the Bitcoin adoption, the amount of Lightning nodes, the amount of actual Bitcoin nodes that have been activated, people getting into the cryptocurrency space, the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, Fidelity, the Swiss Stock Exchange, the German Stock Exchange, all these other regulations and stuff like that over the course of a 2-year period, that Bitcoin's upside was only $400, I would definitely disagree. The fact that we are on the cusp of having a situation where Bitcoin could potentially actually be used as a worldwide payment method through many of the largest stores and institutions and stuff around the world, and that Bitcoin's price should have only gone from 900 in January 2017 to 1,300 right now, is kind of insane. I know the analysts. I know I've seen the charts before. I do look through them. Anyway, the point is, if we have to get there, just do it right now. What's the point of waiting? I think I've seen a downtrend in the interest in cryptocurrencies accelerating a tiny bit, simply because of how much time that a lot of these things have really taken. And I'm afraid of us getting to a point, and this is why I think that these people continue to give us their information almost every single other day about exactly what's going on, because I'm pretty sure they also have indicators as well as to the waning interest about cryptocurrencies. Crypto may shoot up in price one day, but it's kind of really weird to think about it or worry about it every single day. A lot of people have left the cryptocurrency space, and they do plan on re-entering once prices have gone back up. But life does go on, and it's kind of really worrying about this every single day, or worrying about if the price has actually hit that low. The point is, we need something to happen, obviously, for the prices to start to go back up. And I wonder exactly what the catalyst will be. But I feel like prices are definitely being pushed down. There's no real negative sentiment about anything. The entire thing that people keep saying is that we're either waiting for Bakkt, or that we're waiting for the SEC to give some type of an announcement about something. But they've already done that. We know that Bitcoin isn't a security. We know that it's a commodity. And the world should have definitely moved on from that. My own personal opinion, no one knows exactly how low this is going to go, but even the Bitcoin maximalists are kind of disagreeing as to exactly how much Bitcoin, I guess, is worth, air quotes, at the moment, and how low that it's actually going to go. Very interesting. Next up, Bitmain is in the news. China-based cryptocurrency mining giant known as Bitmain has decided to close yet another overseas office. This time it is in Amsterdam, as part of its ongoing business adjustments. In a statement shared with CoinDesk, a Bitmain spokesperson said that while the company has not yet shut down its Amsterdam operations, The decision has already been made and the process is underway. They said, as we build a long-term, sustainable, and scalable business, we are making adjustments to our staff and operations. This includes a decision to close our Amsterdam and Israel offices. Bitmain has not yet specified the timeline of the closure or how many staff will be impacted as a result. However, according to the information on LinkedIn, at least 9 people are identified as Bitmain employees in the Dutch capital, and their responsibilities mostly focus on the operations and development of Bitmain's flagship mining pool known as BTC.com. This is, I think, the 4th thing that Bitmain has actually closed. It's very interesting to see how things shift in the cryptocurrency space very rapidly. Just a couple of months ago, we had news and indications that Bitmain, and I'm pretty sure they still are, from a technical numeric standpoint, that they were the largest operations as far as mining Bitcoin in the entire world, controlling 80% of the entire Bitcoin mining hash rate. That caused a huge stir in the cryptocurrency space, even amongst Bitcoin extremists and maximalists, as far as if this was true or not, that it wasn't actually true, that they couldn't 51% attack, even though they controlled 80% of the so-and-so, blah, 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 what have you. But as time has gone on and the prices of cryptocurrencies, and more focusing on Bitcoin, have gone on, we've had a lot of speculation that they were going to close things. Now we have these as definites that they are definitely closing things. And now the speculation still runs rampant that they own Bitmain, as they close the entirety of their Bitcoin Cash operation, that they are possibly, we had the numbers a couple of weeks ago, that they are possibly looking to sell off, what is it, like 1 million Bitcoin Cash or something like that, and I think a couple 100,000 Litecoin that they've also been mining. Very interesting, and I think they own like almost like a nothing amount of Ethereum, so there's no speculation that they'll sell that off anyway. Bitmain was the go-to thing in the cryptocurrency space when you were talking about like dominant cryptocurrency players. Especially, we also had news a couple of months ago that they were looking to launch an IPO to be listed on, I think, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, and that evaporated very quick as well, I guess, as their profits have continued to slide. I have no exact numbers for you, but I can assume they probably lost a lot of confidence. When you close multiple offices around the world and the Bitcoin price starts going down, not many people really want to throw their money at you to invest in you to have you actually listed on their stock exchange anymore. Very interesting. I assume we'll have maybe 1 or 2 other closures for Bitmain, but it's still, I mean, this is all because the prices are going down. So I assume they will probably open up other things again once prices are going back up, but who knows exactly when that's going to be. Very, very interesting times in the cryptocurrency space, because I know it, and I know some of you know it. The moment we get prices going back up again, the moment Bitcoin is back over 10,000, we're going to enter a new hype cycle, and we're going to have a whole bunch of news about new openings and stuff like that, and I guess history just repeats itself, because what's going to end up happening is, during that hype cycle, everyone's going to be releasing their good news, prices are going to continue to go back up, and we're going to enter the same exact thing all over again. And I hope that a lot of people out there, especially these mega companies, have learned from their mistakes and learned how to manage money a bit better, because when you are the largest crypto Bitcoin mining giant in the entire world and you can't handle a 1-year bear market, that shows a heavy mismanagement of funds, at least in my opinion. Let's move on. Next up, the Winklevoss are in the news. Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss, Bitcoin bulls and founders of cryptocurrency trading platform known as Gemini, have said that stablecoins and tokenized securities will usher in a bright future for the digital currency space. The twins made their remarks during an interview on Fortune's crypto-focused news segment known as The Ledger. This happened yesterday. The twins' airtime comes as part of a push for coverage of their recent ad campaign, which has sparked some controversy in crypto circles over its attempt to remold crypto's image with an emphasis on robust regulation and compliance-driven market practices. Cameron Winklevoss steered the conversation beyond regulatory matters and onto what he said Gemini considers to be an important new development for digital assets. They are stablecoins and tokenized securities. Noting that much of the twins' focus and work to date has been on virtual commodities such as Bitcoin, he said that a new compelling use case for crypto will be virtual security tokens backed by real assets. He said, and I do quote, "The ICO mania of 2017, we view that as the pets.com," and I'll actually get back to that in 1 second. It's very interesting. We view that as the pets.com of the securities token world. They were unregistered, and it was crazy town for about 6 months there. I think the next wave, we will see real innovation and the really interesting assets that become tokenized, like real estate, like buildings that are currently not traded in a real liquid fashion. So that's exciting, end quote. There's so much stuff in this one sentence. I'll try and work this way and see if I remember everything, because, my brain is just not always there sometimes. About the pets.com thing, for those who maybe were not here during Y2K and that entire thing, when we had the crash of the internet bubble, if you will. How do I phrase this the easiest way without dragging this on? We saw the emergence of the internet in like 1994 as a very crazy, cool, amazing thing. I remember being a very small child and my grandmother like bringing in a computer. We thought that the internet was going to essentially expand forever from that point. And by the time we got to the internet bubble of around 2099, somewhere around, then everything completely crashed. Pets.com was seen as a website that could not fail. And we knew that it did fail for whatever reason. The point is, when people look at the past, as they normally do for finance, and they kind of compare cryptocurrencies as we are both digital, us and the internet, what have you, they say the idea is that we were waiting for a period, and we thought that this would take a lot longer, especially in 2017. We thought that by the year 2020, 2021, 2022, that cryptocurrencies would see this huge mania, shoot up, and then slam back down, just like the 2000 .com bubble crash, what have you. It appears, according to a lot of analysts are saying that we have actually, in the cryptocurrency space, the crash of 2018 was actually our pets.com moment. A lot of people have been analyzing that this isn't definite. This isn't what happened. We may have another huge run up and then slam right back down again to the prices where we are. A lot of analysts are saying that they think that the indicators show that the mania of what blockchain could do. Remember all of those companies who were talking about like what was that iced tea company who was like iced tea blockchain. Kodak was also Kodak chain. Remember Kodak coin? There was this huge mania. Same exact thing with the beginning of the internet, or rather the early stages of the internet. A lot of analysts think that we have actually passed that moment in the cryptocurrency space, and this is why we've seen that thousands of coins are no longer relevant. They have died. Their creators have simply left the projects. The ICO mania has completely popped. It's completely gone. So they think, and it's kind of exciting to think about that we've entered a space in the cryptocurrency world, and this is why people keep saying that, well, the idea is that cryptocurrency prices have to continue to lower because it'll continue to wash out the other bad actors. It'll wash out a lot of the bad players in the space, a lot of the scams and stuff like that, because they believe that the next run-up that we have will be the beginning of the beginning, if you kind of want to say it that way. Like, it'll be the movement that we have regulations in place, that we have major players, and crypto will be far less likely to have these major jumps up and down and stuff like that. Kind of interesting to think about it that way. But this is what I've seen a lot of other analysts talking about, that they think that crypto may have already gone through its popping phase, because a lot of people have been speculating when crypto would actually go through this, because this is kind of the defining moment. We were waiting for a major crash to show that crypto had hit a bottom, and this is kind of where we get these numbers from. And also, there was something else I wanted to talk about, but the other thing, for those who don't really know, or maybe weren't here for these other videos when I was talking about this, it's the complete digitization of all assets that we have in the world. It is believed, and this is definitely happening, that we are going to enter into a world very quick where you can buy anything that you want on the internet instantly. And I mean as far as like a car, a parking space, an apartment. Because when things are digitized, we saw last year that there was like a luxury apartment in New York that was digitized on a blockchain, if you will, and people were actually able to buy like shares of the flat itself, which was kind of completely insane. So this is why they said that they're very excited for for assets to become tokenized. And I mentioned this before in another video. This had to be months ago at this point. We were talking about this some point in the future, where you're actually going to be able to buy a stake, or like not like an actual stake, like stake in a flat somewhere. Like, let's say you can buy, as opposed to having a huge amount of money, you can simply put a portion. Like if you digitize an apartment that costs $1 million, and you don't have $1 million and it's separated into 20 brackets, you can simply put in 50,000 of your own money, and it'll kind of be like a timeshare, but you'll still own a 20th of a share of it. And if you all decide as a collective to rent out that place for, it's New York, so like 5,000 to 7,000 a month. Yes, those are real monthly rental prices in New York. You will then get 1/20th of that every single month without actually having to need $1 million to put into the entire thing. And you'll be able to do that instantly because you'll simply be able to go to a website, not insert 50,000, but send them 50,000 in crypto, and then therefore you'll receive a certificate at that moment, because everything will be quicker and more digitized in the future to be able to buy real estate like that. Same exact thing goes with, we were talking about before in the other video, self-driving cars, which I think is probably one of the things that I'm most excited about, because if you have been paying attention, I think it was called CES. It was a couple days ago, like the huge tech conference that ends up happening. I think it was sponsored by Engadget, not affiliated. And anyway, the point is, they were talking about that 2019 is expected to be the year of the self-driving car. And it's also, as we go forward with blockchain, we will be able to, first of all, Uber has a, you can Google it. Uber has a self-driving fleet that they purchased last year, as do many other companies. It's expected that 2019, we're going to see tons of self-driving cars on the road. And by the year 2021, they will be completely normalized because we will see them everywhere. As we continue to tokenize everything that has a value or an asset, we'll one day be able to go online, purchase a portion of a self-driving car that is being used as an Uber or a Lyft or whatever new name that people come out with in the next 2 years. You'll be able to put in 10,000 into it and say that you own a portion of this car. And as the self-driving car is going around picking people up and people are paying for it with their mobile phone and on Uber and stuff like that, every couple of minutes, ideally, because it's on the blockchain, is because it's so-and-so, you'll receive a portion of the money that person paid to your Bitcoin account or to your so-and-so account, however you decide to get paid. So think about a world like that where everything is completely digitized. You are looking for new investments to do. Like, you don't have 300,000 to be able to buy into a new home, but you have saved up 10,000. You can put that 10,000 into a new car that may cost, let's say, even rounding around like 40, 30,000. So you own a third of the car, and every single time that someone gets into that car and uses it as an Uber and they pay $15, you get $5 every about 20, 30 minutes, depending on how long their ride is, forever, because it's a self-driving car. Also, just to add in one other thing, it's also very important as well. In the future, the idea is that when we have self-driving cars, that if they are damaged in some sort of way, which they shouldn't be because of the GPS and how the systems are going to be working, but should they run out of something, should they need an oil change, they'll actually be able to drive themselves to a mechanic who will also be digital and will be able to fix it. And you'll receive an invoice through your thing that says you have to pay a certain amount. Do you want to pay this amount through your crypto? You'll click yes, and the car will be fixed by the machine and simply drive itself back out and go pick up other people. We live in very interesting times. If you think that we're not in the future, please look again. We are definitely in the future, especially when we have things like this. Anyway, when he says that's exciting, it is incredibly exciting. I think people don't understand exactly how far we've come. Like I said, if you were around 1999 or the year 2000, think about the things that we had. Watch an old documentary if you want to. We are in a very different digital space than we were before. Anyway, I thought that was quite interesting. I mean, I really don't care for stablecoins, but I think stablecoins they're going to be a thing. But tokenization of all digital assets, especially securities, is going to be completely immense, and a lot of people aren't really paying attention to exactly how big this is going to be. To kind of finish things off, Switzerland's major private investment bank, known as Vontobel, has launched a crypto custody solution targeting banks and asset managers, according to an official press release that was released yesterday. Zurich-based Vontobel Bank is reportedly the third largest financial custody provider in Switzerland, with around $112 billion in assets under its actively developed asset management tool, according to the company's financial reports of 2017. With the launch of the new digital asset custodian solution named Digital Asset Vault, the private bank claims to be the first bank in the world to comply with standards required by both industry regulators and financial intermediaries. The new tool allows banks and asset managers to offer their clients a number of crypto-related services, including digital asset purchases, transfers, and storage. Without reading too much further, the point is, what's interesting is that they are, Vontobel's incredibly large. If you didn't notice from the money amount that they have, third largest in Switzerland. We have yet again another bank, and I think a lot of people brush over these things. It's either because people don't care about banks because of the mindset of the early people in cryptocurrencies, or they don't understand the actual impact that these things are actually going to have. When you have major banks in Switzerland's rich, offering things like this to their customers, allowing them to purchase cryptocurrencies, to transfer them, and also to store them with them. This is going to be very big as we end up going forward. It's kind of self-explanatory. I don't really know what else to kind of say. The point is that Vontobel is actually doing this for some reason, and I don't really understand the entire significance of this. We've had so many other things that have launched in 2018 that should have sent crypto skyrocketing into the air. Imagine if we had news that the third largest bank in the States had launched something like this, where they were going to allow people to buy, sell, trade, especially buy and sell cryptocurrencies through them, and also store their cryptocurrencies. The price of cryptocurrencies would have completely gone up. So many other things are happening around the world, and I think it's very odd, in my opinion, that so many people aren't paying attention to the innovations that are happening outside of the United States. I don't know if it's just I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, but everyone seems to be waiting for... I know that the U.S. is an economic powerhouse. I get that. But there are at least like 3 or 4 other ETFs in many other countries around the world. We know that Sweden also launched their own one sometime last year as well. These should have had major impacts on the cryptocurrency space, but for some reason, everyone keeps waiting for the CFTC and the SEC to pat their back and give them a thumbs up. And until we really get past that point, I think crypto is going to remain stagnant. So many other people in other countries around the world are simply waiting for the US to make a move when they should have done so themselves. Anyway, just my own personal opinion. I think crypto could be a lot larger and would have been a lot larger if the rest of the world had moved on, as opposed to waiting for what the US had to say. Just my opinion. To kind of close it off, the market's not doing too bad. We've had some like jump ups in price, nothing too significant anywhere really. There was speculation even on the other. I use Forbes because they show the actual price of the completion of XRP's market cap, as far as like they take all coins into account, because we know that it was pre-mined and we know that all the coins are in existence, and therefore this is the price that they have. But on other places such as CoinMarketCap, they were showing that XRP had once again taken over Ethereum, despite the news that sometime this week we're going to actually have the completion of the Constantinople hard fork. So there was speculation as to why Ethereum wasn't doing as well as they thought it should be doing. No other coin at the moment is doing exceptionally well. I mean, we have some 2% up, 2% up. It's kind of nice to see. At least nothing is really in the deep red. But the indication still remains that we need Bitcoin to pass by 5,000 in order for the rest of the market to get a proper, clear bullish signal. But until then, we have nothing to do but wait. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. I do appreciate all of your support. It's breakfast time. I'm incredibly hungry. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all soon. See you.